1, 2, 3, 4.
Screen time, screen time, screen time,
It's my screen time too.
screen time, screen time.
Hello, and welcome to It's My Screen Time Too, the podcast where two moms review the best and worst in children's programming, from Netflix reboots and YouTube shorts to Disney classics and Pixar blockbusters. We watch, you listen. Find out what you can tolerate watching for family movie night, what to avoid altogether, and what you'll want to watch alone voluntarily. I'm Katie.
And I'm Deborah.
And I have two kids. Jay, he's 6, and Kenny, he's 3.
And I have 3 kids. Tony is 12, and Libby and Nate are 9. And they are so adorable, aren't they?
They are.
We like to tell a quick story about how awesome or occasionally awful our kids are, because in addition to being witty and incisive pop culture consumers, we're moms too. Katie, my kids corrected my pronunciation of a word this week. We were reading, it's this book. Oh, it's called like The Problematic Paradox or something. It's like a sci-fi type kid novel. And the word soldering was in it. And I pronounced it soldering or like soldiering. I just stumbled over it because that's a hard word for me. And Tony was like, Mom, it's soldering. How about your kids?
So yesterday we were doing I got to do 2 of my favorite things. I put together a new bookshelf for Jay, and I rearranged his books in his bedroom. And the boys got to try on their dance recital outfits. Side note, the less fun thing is that now I have to alter those dance recital outfits, and I am just not equipped, Deborah. I'm fine.
Do you have a sewing machine?
I have a sewing machine, but I can't use it for anything practical. Like, the problem with clothing is that it has so many circles.
Yeah.
And like I can sew like a blanket or a napkin or anything that's straight, but like the hem of a pant or like the waistband, I have to do by hand, and I'm still so terrified about getting it wrong that I'm afraid to like cut anything. I don't know. It's always way more work and effort than I feel like it should be. I never learn. 1 year is never easier than the one before. But whatever. That's not even the story I was going to tell. So I got their costumes out of their closets because I finally got all the individual pieces from the dance studio. And I'm like, let's go downstairs and try them on in front of a blank wall so mommy can take pictures. And Jay said, not right now, Mom. I can't come down. I have to reorganize the books on my shelf. And I was like, I can't even fault you. Have fun, buddy.
Oh, I love that.
It was really sweet.
How did he arrange them?
He pretty much just wanted to go through and make sure that all the series of books were in the correct numerical order. Which, since I had just put the bookshelf together, of course they already were. But I loved the fact that like he felt the need to go through and do that as well.
Good for him. I love a little organizer. That's great.
Now, if only I could get him to reliably throw his laundry in the laundry room.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
No tips.
Deborah, there is a movie that I saw that I absolutely must discuss with you.
Oh.
So I texted you a while back about this mom that I met that watches all the Marvel properties with her son, and it's like a really special mother-son bond that they have going on over Marvel. And you know how I feel about Marvel. I've talked about it on the show a lot. Like, I am very tired of it, and my brain is just exhausted from having to process all the connections. I'm just tired. So the other night, I went to see the new Doctor Strange movie with my husband because I'm the best wife ever. And I had not seen the preceding couple of Marvel things. Like, I hadn't seen the past couple movies, and I haven't watched the past couple TV shows. So I was mostly able to keep up. Like, Doctor Strange is a wizard who can do a lot of things. And now there's a multiverse with a lot of different worlds, universes, as the term might imply. But there is one exceedingly silly scene involving music notes and a musical staff that I desperately need you to see, because in the movie theater, which was not uncrowded, I was like cackling so loud. I found it so funny, and no one else was laughing.
Oh no.
Also, I was happy to see a particular actor in the movie. We've talked in the past about how Netflix canceled the Babysitters Club, and we are so sad about it. But the actress that plays Dawn in the dearly departed Babysitters Club, Xochitl Gomez, has a major role in the movie, and I hope that it will bring her leading roles in many Marvel movies to come.
Awesome. So Doctor Strange, I will put it on my watch list.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say rush out and see it in the theater so we can talk about it sooner, but you know how I feel about Marvel. It can wait until it's for free on some streaming platform.
Let's talk about screen time in the news. You picked out an article this week from moms.com, a site I have not really been familiar with.
No, nor had I before I was idly Googling in search of an article to talk about.
The author's name is Ashley Wehrle, and the title says it all. I still want my kids to watch baby shows so they aren't exposed to the garbage they have on TV. So, moms.com publishes firsthand accounts and advice from moms that are telling their stories to be helpful to other moms, and they aren't necessarily professional journalists. They didn't provide a professional bio for Wehrle. Just a quick perusal of the site made me think it's kind of just like long form Facebook mom group.
Yeah.
Wehrle's kids' increased screen time during the pandemic has led her to despair over the state of kids' TV. And she wants them to keep watching what she calls baby shows like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and Sesame Street, because she feels like those shows are at least educational. And she has a weird aside about how fondly she remembers watching the Care Bears and My Little Pony as a kid. But it's worth pointing out that those shows were purely commercial, and they were made to sell toys and not to like teach lessons or impart any educational knowledge to kids.
Right. I did not learn any lessons except that I wanted a pound puppy from Pound Puppies.
Yeah, exactly. She complains about toy unboxing, like we all do, and Ryan, but she likes Blippi because she says his songs are catchy and his videos teach. It sounds like she's just like listening to the ambient television noise and not actually super engaged in the shows, because she's trying to get things done while her kids are in front of the TV. She mentions but does not name a show about a kid and his butt where the kid gets into like a conflict with his butt, and I really want to know, what show is this?
Yes, Kenny is very much going through a I poop on you phase. Like everything involves poop. There's poop on your head. He would love this show, 100%.
Yeah. I kind of wondered if it was Captain Underpants, but I don't think so. Anyway, Ashley, if you listen, tell us in the comments what show is that.
We want to know, because we are about to lay some show recommendations on you, totally unsolicited.
Yeah. So before we do the show recommendations, I wonder if what's happening here a little bit, because she mentions she's got a couple younger kids, a daughter who's a little bit older. Like there is a sadness when your kids outgrow certain things, like when you don't shop at Baby Gap anymore and you have to move into the kids sizes. Like that was sad for me. When you stop buying like toddler clothes, and like when your kids are like when they move on from like board books into, and they can handle the paper pages. Like it's exciting that they reach those milestones, but it's also kind of sad because like those years never come back and they're never like small and helpless again. So I wonder if she doesn't mention this, but I wonder if there's some of that going on.
I also think, as a corollary to that, it is universally true about motherhood and parenthood in general that the minute you feel like you get a handle on something, they grow up and change, and you're thrust into a whole new world of uncertainty. So it can be really hard when you feel like you've found these sources that you trust to just have to start all over again.
Right. Right.
And on top of that, the age gap, which I feel like we have dealt with and are dealing with our kids and their age gap. Like Tony is obviously wanting to watch different things from his younger siblings, as is Jay versus Kenny. So it's not a problem we cannot relate to.
Yeah. And I'm sure Kenny has ended up watching stuff that's above his pay grade.
For
Just
sure.
like Libby and Nate have watched things that aren't exactly age appropriate for them that Tony really wanted to watch. But Ashley doesn't really say what streaming services she has, but you have like a great list of shows to check out.
Yeah, I realize again, and amidst all this like Netflix turmoil, I looked at this list and I was like, whoa, it is majority Netflix. And I'm just so curious to see what the future has for that company and their content. But anyway, the ones that came to me just off the top of my head were Ask the Storybots, which has a very obvious educational angle. We covered it on our show years ago, but I feel like it's still worth watching. I don't know if they're producing new seasons, but there are at least 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even just if you listen to the songs separate from the content of the episode, they're educational and fun from a grown-up perspective. Emily's Wonder Lab is another one that we really loved and that has been fun for both of my boys at their different ages. Waffles and Mochi we covered on the show. Izzy's Koala World.
Waffles and Mochi.
Oh, yeah. Izzy's Koala World is a nature-centric show on Netflix, maybe slightly less educational, but cute and inoffensive, I think. Number Blocks, I've said it all. I'll happily say it all again. I love it so much. Looking at things outside of the Netflix world, we did cover Molly of Denali on PBS, and we liked that one quite a bit. And the new Fraggle Rock on Apple TV Plus was a really fun surprise for us. Or maybe not a surprise for Deborah, but a surprise for me. Deborah, were you able to think of any more that you really liked?
I think your list is a really great place to start. Molly of Denali is so good.
I know.
Yeah.
And I think this will make a really nice segue into our main topic because I actually think it kind of falls into this category nicely.
Yes, definitely.
We, in fact, did choose another Netflix show because they churn out the most content, guys. It is called Creature Cases. It is a half-hour animated show that dropped its first 12-episode season on April 12th, 2022. In classic fashion, each episode is divided into 2 smaller stories, and it seems squarely aimed at the age range between 4 and 7. It was created by Gabe Pulliam, who worked as a writer and producer for Octonauts, which is another very popular kids show that you can see on Netflix. It was animated by a French studio, Team TO, who also do PJ Masks, if you're familiar with that one. They did some seasons of Elena of Avalor and Sophia the First, and they also animated The Beautiful City of Ghosts, which is not returning for another season, but did you watch that one, Deborah? I didn't find it to be super kid-friendly, but it was gorgeous. So if you ever find yourself with time on your hands, I would recommend that.
Okay.
We picked this one because we do think Octonauts does an admirable job of trying to teach and entertain simultaneously, so we were optimistic about this new Octonauts cousin. And guys, you know I love a mystery show, and I will take any opportunity I can to lead my kids to also enjoy mysteries so we can experience them together. We watched the first episode titled The Mystery on the Monsoon Express, and that was the only one that we saw that wasn't divided into 2 parts. Then we watched the 6th episode, which was split between The Disappearing Dung Ball and The Search for the Spotted Frog, and the 9th episode, which was split between The Unidentified Shiny Object and The Case of the Crying Monkey. As usual, we'll just zip through the episodes one by one and then move on to our more general thoughts. Deborah, would you like to take us through The Mystery on the Monsoon Express?
Yes. So in Mystery of the Monsoon Express, Kit, Fox, and Sam Snow and Kit Casey get directions from their detective boss.
Oh my gosh, I totally did not even give a summary of the series. Let's just say off the top, it's about 2 detective partners, Sam Snow and Kit Casey. They work for this organization called CLADE, the Covert League of Animal Detective Experts, and they solve animal mysteries while teaching kids about the more bizarre members of the animal kingdom. Okay, there, go ahead.
Okay, so the mystery they need to solve in the pilot episode is the conductor of the Monsoon Express train is bitten by a venomous snake, and they need to figure out which snake bit the conductor so that they can make anti-venom solution and heal the conductor so the conductor can stop the train from crashing. High stakes.
Yeah.
Very tense plot, especially at the end. What did you think?
There were several things that predisposed me to like this episode. I mean, the mystery on a train is just such a classic that I loved that little nod. And they did do a little bit to teach viewers the basics of, mystery tropes. They had their list of suspects that they carefully went through one by one.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little worried, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this without a spoiler, but grown-ups, I don't know that we necessarily care about spoilers in creature cases. I was a little worried after watching this episode that the entire series would be a little too Law and Order-like for my taste.
Oh.
And that meaning that the first suspect would always be the one that did it. The first and most obvious choice would always be the culprit. Thankfully, that turned out not to necessarily be the case in the other episodes, but I was initially just a little disappointed by that. What did you think as someone who's not necessarily quite as enmeshed in the world of mysteries as I am?
I liked it. This was a good introduction to the series. I felt like when I was a kid, leprosy and snake bites were something that I thought were going to be a bigger factor in my adult life.
Also quicksand.
Yes, and quicksand as hazards to avoid, and that would definitely kill you. So I liked that aspect of it. I thought that it was really clever the way they kind of showed how to use process of elimination, both visually and they did it kind of repetitively because it's a kids show. But I thought it was teaching, but not being hammer you over the head with the lesson.
Exactly.
It was incorporated into the plot in a fun way. And I liked at the end, just like any educational show, they do a couple minutes at the end with a real lesson. And this was called The Fact File. And I thought that was a super cute way to end the show. But I have to tell you, I watched it with my kids and they had strong opposing opinions about The Fact File.
Oh, so they were look, we know what you're trying to do and we're not here for it. Don't try and teach us stuff.
They were really opposed to the line that's Bill, Jill, attitude, chill. They hated that.
Okay, so it wasn't that they were being shown actual footage of actual snakes. It was the framing device they objected to.
Yeah.
Oh, I find that fascinating. You know what I learned from this fact file?
What?
That I'm utterly unsuited to live somewhere with a lot of poisonous snakes, because they showed us a picture of these big 4 snakes, and really, it was hard to tell the difference. They just look like snakes.
I know, really, you should just avoid all snakes,
yeah.
I think. Even the harmless ones. They're creepy.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know a harmless one from a cobra.
No, not at all.
All right, shall we move on to the second episode we watched?
Sure.
The case of the disappearing dung ball found Sam and Kit trying to recover a missing dung ball for a dung beetle couple. And the second segment, the search for the spotted frog, had them obviously searching for a spotted frog that lived in a mutualistic relationship with a tarantula. It was a tarantula, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Sam and Kit were searching for this frog who was also in possession of one of the tarantula's eggs. Side note, I did not know the word mutualistic before.
Oh, that's a good one.
So I learned something. What did you think of these episodes?
I liked it. I learned a lot. I thought like the way the dung beetles were animated was really, they made them really cute for creatures that live in poop.
Yeah, I think it's one thing, like, and it's the same thing with Octonauts, right? They make really weird creatures. They find the relatable thing. And the relatable thing they found about these dung beetles is they're just a loving couple who want to build a home and have a family. And they just might want to do that in a ball of poop. But don't we all just want to have loving families? It was sweet, I thought.
Yeah. So this episode takes place in Africa and Mystery on the Monsoon Express takes place in Asia. So Sam Snow and Kit Casey are really, they're like the Interpol of animal detectives. Like, I want to know who's behind, like who's funding this operation. This is an impressive deal.
Also, they seem to be able to move to places really quickly because often they're given the intel like as things are happening. So it's not like they have time to plan for 48 hours before they hop in their pinball-powered plane and go to solve a mystery. They bounce from continent to continent very quickly.
Yeah.
This episode also introduced us to a character that I believe was a wombat? Wally Bunker?
Bungler, I think.
Oh, okay, Bungler. Okay. So he was their somewhat hapless friend who is like an independent contractor and just like, you know, comes to these emergency scenes to help out because he's enthusiastic about it. He's the tolerated amateur that often accidentally ends up solving the case, which is another classic mystery trope that I appreciated them introducing. As usual, Wally is underappreciated by the professionals.
So episode 3 was another two-parter, and it was called The Unidentified Shiny Object and the Case of the Crying Monkey. And so our detectives need to solve for what is messing with the firefly's mating signal at night. And then in the case of the crying monkey, they have to figure out what is imitating the sound of a baby monkey. What did you think of this episode?
Again, I learned some things I didn't know. Bioluminescence is always fun. Once again, and I don't know if Wally shows up as often, but like it just so happened that 2 of the 3 episodes that we watched featured Wally. So once again, he came in and accidentally solved the case, which I really enjoyed. I wonder how you feel about the fact that they kind of ignored the predator-prey relationship.
Yeah, they definitely gloss over that, which all cartoons of animals have to, right?
Yeah. You're right. There's no good way to do it, but there's also no way I could believe that like that Margay cat was coming into the picture just to eat protein bars and not to eat some baby monkeys.
Right. Oh.
So it's an interesting line that they walk. You know, they're a show that's trying to teach kids real facts about animals, and they're also conveniently ignoring this one somewhat essential fact. But I'm not going to hold it against it. I thought it was pretty cute. I just maybe let the cat out of the bag. But first things first, did you like it?
I did like it. Surprisingly, a lot for what is like a preschool, early elementary geared show.
Agreed, agreed. I was pleasantly surprised by it as well. Can I lay my main questions out on the table for you?
Please.
There seem to be only 6 agents in Clade, and I wonder about their work life balance because
Mm,
Sam and Kit seem to work together and live together. So obviously, I'm thinking that eventually there's got to be some romantic tension there, right? They spend all their time together.
right.
But in all the episodes, we don't see any cross species relationships. So I'm wondering what kind of tension that's going to cause within the organization.
Maybe it's more like a like Matt Damon and Julia Child in the Bourne movies. Like
Julia Childs. This is creating the best picture in my head. Matt Damon and Julia Child in the Bourne movies. Oh, I
oh my
love
gosh,
it so much.
what is her name?
Julia Stiles.
Yeah.
But I love it because Julia Child, didn't she start out working as a spy?
She did. Oh, I think we accidentally created a really good concept.
Love it. Love it.
That makes me think of the later Bourne movies when he's like got kind of the tension, but it's never like a, well, they just don't have time to act upon any romantic impulses.
Exactly. They don't bunk together.
Mm-hmm.
They're not co-parents of an adorable spotted fern.
Right.
So that was my primary concern. I was also a little worried about the mice squad, who are 2 of the other agents that we meet. And they are, as with your typical CBS procedural, you know how they always have like the one tech person in the office who really does everything? Like that's who the
Yeah.
mice squad mirrors. And again, I just worry that they're never allowed to live their lives.
Yeah, maybe this is a job where they work like, I don't know, 3 weeks on and then they get a couple weeks off. Maybe you're thinking about it too heteronormatively. Maybe they're not, maybe they're just like work wife and husband and then they have other attractions.
Oh, no, I mean, I wasn't even giving a thought to like them being a couple. It was more like
Oh,
I don't think they get any time off. Like if you look
yeah.
at like the interstitial animation, you see like slices of pizza and stuff. They're like eating in the office. They're never
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
I think they need to negotiate some time off. All right, those are my major issues with the larger concept. Did you have any?
Other than, I mean, because I watched it with my kids, I was more aware of like what might appeal, like what I'm liking as a grown up and a parent and what
Mm-hmm.
might not appeal
Mm-hmm.
to kids. But overall, I really liked it.
Yeah, emphasizing the bizarre is a classic way to hook kids on a topic. And it's a classic for grown-ups too. I mean, when channel surfing, I will always watch an episode of Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern.
Mm-hmm.
I will always stop. So I can relate to that for sure. I just unloaded on you about my feelings about the relationship between Sam and Kit, but do you have any thoughts about the cast or characters? Was there anyone you particularly loved or hated?
I did like the boss lady who gives them their assignments. She was very classic spycraft boss who is it kind of reminded me a little bit of the agent in Killing Eve. Have you finished the last season of that?
No, I only ever watched the first season, but
Oh, okay. Very like just very officious. And that was the vibe I got from, I don't even know what animal she is.
I
Like a
know
parrot?
she has like that like plucked neck and head look of like a vulture, but
Yeah.
her vibe seems more turkey. That one going on the Instagram.
That's what I was just thinking.
What did you think about the animation? It looks a lot like Octonauts, right?
Yeah, it's not like my favorite type of animation. It's like adequate. It's like TV CGI.
Yeah.
Nothing groundbreaking here.
The choice that they very self-consciously made was to use very late 80s colors and styles. And even references, like I mentioned how their plane kind of gets shot out of the hangar by like a pinball mechanism. It's very explicitly emphasizing that time. And I hate how every episode always comes back to me feeling old and generational divides. But I wonder if that's an attempt to appeal to young Gen Z parents, because the early 90s and the late 80s are very much a going concern in fashion these days.
That's interesting. You know what I noticed in the spy boss's office is there's a framed piece of art that looks like a Keith Haring print.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Usually I don't pay that much attention to detail, but that caught my eye. And also the spycraft devices that they use are very Inspector Gadgety,
Mm-hmm.
which is another callback to that era. That's interesting.
And then in the fact file portion, it's very explicit. Like they have the pixelated computer face and like the traditional robot voice, and then the dancing and the glasses. It's very rooted in a specific time.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt very calculated. And I guess it's Netflix, obviously. They're calculating to get eyeballs, but it
Right.
felt like maybe it was on the edge of not being for me, for being for
Oh.
people younger than me.
Oh. I didn't feel well, and maybe because it wasn't targeting like my elder millennial generation, maybe I didn't pick up on that entirely.
Did you pick up on anything about the music?
It was a lot of synthesizer.
Again, with the rooted
Yes.
in a specific time.
Yeah. I guess I thought maybe that was budgetary because the music also didn't feel super groundbreaking. Like it was fine, but
Mhm.
I feel like the real richness of this show is in the concept and the script,
Mhm.
not necessarily the animation and the music.
Agreed. What movie or TV show for grown-ups does this compare to?
Well, the first episode made me think of Snowpiercer, both the movie and the show.
And then later when they were eating the protein bars.
Yeah. Which, if we say that's what we compare it to, like, that's not going to make people want to watch it with their kids.
No. We cast a wide net here.
I also thought quite a bit about The Americans.
Because you were catching that 80s vibe.
Yeah, totally. How about you? What did you compare it to?
My first thought was the X-Files.
Oh, yeah, good one.
You know, two agents seeking out the bizarre and explaining it.
Yeah, definitely.
Were you able to cast the gritty HBO reboot?
Okay, so Sam Snow has a really delightful accent.
He does.
So I wanted to cast Don Cheadle in that role.
You know, Don,
and
wait, do you want him to do his like fake Ocean's 11 accent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I guess the character that Don Cheadle plays in Ocean's 11, that's who I would cast as
Okay.
Sam Snow. And then I would cast Selena Gomez as Kit Fox. I would cast Margot Martindale from The Americans as the boss.
Yes.
And then maybe Daveed Diggs as the bungler.
You just had Snowpiercer on the brain, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
So I went a slightly different route. My main takeaway from Sam Snow was that he was a capable detective, but he was a bit more fussy than he liked to admit. So I think someone who would do that credit would be an actor like Lakeith Stanfield.
I love him. He's so good.
And then we've been watching a ton of Encanto at our house lately. So I thought Stephanie Beatrice could be like a fun, sassy Kit Carson. That's her last name, right? Carson. Then as the boss lady at Clade, I cast Allison Janney.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Oh, and also, as usual, I want them to be wearing the butts of their animal costumes when shooting. Do you think it was better when we were kids?
No. Well, I really did like Inspector Gadget, but I think this is more educational, more fun.
Definitely. I was trying to think back on shows that were entertaining and educational. And other than the obvious suspects from, or the usual suspects from the PBS lineup, really all I could come up with was Captain Planet. Like, I don't
Mm,
feel like we had anything that was this much fun for this age group.
yeah.
Would you ever watch this alone voluntarily?
No, because my kids were super into it. I think it was because they were homesick and we started it. Well, I watched one with Libby and then she like raved about it to her brothers. And Tony's 12. He's not the target audience for this, but they were all super into it.
I love that because you know what? My kids too. This is like the kid equivalent of a 4 quadrant hit if we can have like kids from the age of 3 to 12 enjoying it. I really
Right.
did think there was something there for everyone. So 10 seconds on whether this is good for our kids. I think we just covered it. It seems really good for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
I will put up with overt 80s imagery and synthesizer music because it was still fun to watch with my kids, even as I was rolling my eyes. Ratings?
I'd give it a 4.5. How about you?
See, I was thinking back to our last episode, Better Nate Than Ever, which I feel like we gave that a 4.5. Obviously, a very different show. Did I like this as much? You know what? You know what? Yeah, in a different way. But yeah, I think it serves an important purpose to have these middle ground shows. And to circle back to our screen time in the news, to have these shows that can appeal to kids at different stages. And parents can
Mm-hmm.
also feel good about them. A plus Netflix, please don't stop making children's content.
Thank you for listening to this episode of It's My Screen Time Too. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. Check out our website at myscreentime2.com. You can find us on all the socials like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and even email us on Gmail at myscreentime2@gmail.com. Send us your show or movie suggestions, article recommendations, or general comments about the show. Our theme music was composed and performed by me and my adorable children, and our podcast is produced by Katie. Tune in next time for more real talk about the movies and TV beloved by kids and tolerated by parents.
Bye.
Bye.
Screen time, screen time, screen